The night was brisk as the last rays of sunlight faded into the horizon. Inside the bustling Haven taproom, the warm hum of conversation blended with the faint rhythm of blues music from the old jukebox in the corner. Patrons clinked their glasses, and the smell of freshly grilled sliders wafted through the air. Behind the bar stood Ashley Carter, a confident bartender in her late 20s with a flair for mixing drinks and sparking debates. Ashley had been working at the Haven taproom for only 3 months, but her fiery personality and strong convictions had already left an impression. Known for her quick wit and unfiltered opinions, she had a knack for captivating an audience, whether with her craft cocktails or her political tirades. On this particular evening, the taproom was lively, as it always was on a Friday night. Ashley expertly juggled orders, her movements precise and efficient. She enjoyed the camaraderie of the job. But deep down, she also saw herself as a protector of the space, a guardian of what she considered a sanctuary for progress and inclusivity. Her night took an unexpected turn when the door swung open, and a man walked in wearing a red "Make America Great Again" hat. The room didn't fall silent, but a noticeable tension rippled through the air. Heads turned, and some patrons exchanged uneasy glances. Ashley's eyes locked onto the man as he approached the bar. He was in his late 40s, with salt and pepper hair and a calm, confident demeanor. His name was Ethan Brooks, though Ashley didn't know it yet. To her, he was just another patron, albeit one making a statement she found impossible to ignore. Ethan took a seat at the bar, placed his phone and wallet on the counter, and offered a polite smile. "Good evening," he said, his voice steady. Ashley approached, her expression neutral but her thoughts racing. She had dealt with difficult customers before, but something about the hat set her on edge. It wasn't just a piece of clothing to her, it was a symbol of division, intolerance, and everything she believed the Haven taproom stood against. "Good evening," Ashley replied coolly. "What can I get you?" "I'll have an old-fashioned." "Please," Ethan said, sliding a 20 across the bar. Ashley hesitated, glancing at the hat again. Her pulse quickened. She leaned closer, lowering her voice just enough for him to hear. "I'm sorry, but I can't serve you while you're wearing that hat." Ethan raised an eyebrow, his expression calm but curious. "Excuse me?" Ashley straightened her posture, her tone firm. "That hat makes some of our patrons uncomfortable. This is a safe space, and we try to avoid anything that could provoke or offend." Ethan's eyes narrowed slightly, but he maintained his composure. "I see. Well, I'm not here to provoke anyone. I'm just here for a drink." Ashley shook her head. "I'm going to have to ask you to remove the hat, or I can't serve you." Ethan leaned back in his chair, his gaze steady. "With all due respect, I don't believe my hat is causing harm. I'm just a customer, like everyone else." The exchange began to draw attention. Patrons nearby whispered among themselves, their curiosity piqued by the unfolding tension. Ashley felt her frustration mount. "This isn't about you personally. It's about what that hat represents. If you can't respect this space, I'll have to ask you to leave." Ethan sighed, his voice calm but resolute. "I'm not leaving. I haven't done anything wrong." Ashley's patience snapped. "Then I'll have to involve the authorities." Ethan met her gaze, unflinching. "Do what you think is necessary." The room grew tense as Ashley stepped away to make the call. Some patrons nodded in agreement, while others exchanged uneasy glances. The bartender, who had been a source of energy and charm all night, now found herself at the center of a polarizing scene. 15 minutes later, 2 police officers arrived. Their presence silenced the room. the weight of authority commanding attention. Ashley hurried over, explaining her version of events and pointing toward Ethan, who remained seated at the bar, sipping water he had poured for himself. One officer approached Ethan. "Sir, we've received a complaint. Can you tell us what's going on?" Ethan nodded, his tone polite. "Certainly. Officer, I came here to have a drink. I'm not disturbing anyone or breaking any laws. I was told to leave because of my hat. But I'd like to stay and enjoy the evening." As the officers listened, the situation became increasingly clear. Ethan's calm demeanor contrasted sharply with Ashley's rising frustration. Some patrons began to voice their opinions, many defending Ethan's right to remain. Amid the chaos, the bar's manager, Sarah Nolan, arrived, alerted by a staff member. She entered with a look of concern. "What's going on here?" she asked, taking in the scene. Ashley hurried over to explain, her voice tinged with indignation. "He's wearing that hat, and it's upsetting people. I asked him to leave, but he refused." Sarah turned toward Ethan, her expression apologetic. "I'm sorry for the confusion. Sir, let's resolve this privately." Ethan nodded, rising from his seat. "That's a good idea." In the back office, Sarah gestured for Ethan to sit. "First, I want to apologize for how this was handled. We don't usually have issues like this." Ethan smiled faintly, his demeanor still calm. "I appreciate that, Sarah. But there's something you should know." Sarah tilted her head, curious. "What's that?" Ethan reached into his wallet and pulled out a business card. He handed it to her, watching as her expression shifted from confusion to shock. The card read, "Ethan Brooks, owner, Haven Taproom. I own this bar," Ethan said simply. The revelation left Sarah speechless. She had heard of Ethan Brooks, the mysterious owner who preferred to remain behind the scenes, but she had never met him. Realizing the gravity of the situation, she took a deep breath. "Mr. Brooks, I had no idea." Ethan nodded. "I understand. But this isn't just about me. This is about the culture of the space I built. I want to meet with Ashley and the rest of the staff to address this." Sarah agreed. And an hour later, Ashley was called into the office. Her expression shifted from defensive to stunned as she saw Ethan seated with Sarah. "Mr. Brooks is the owner of the Haven Taproom," Sarah said gently. "He wants to speak with you." Ashley's face turned pale. "You're the owner?" Ethan nodded. "That's right. And I'd like to understand why you thought it was appropriate to escalate this situation the way you did." Ashley stammered, struggling to find her words. I thought I was protecting the space. That hat, it felt wrong here." Ethan's gaze softened slightly, but his tone remained firm. "Ashley, this bar was built on the principles of inclusivity and respect. It's not our job to judge people for their beliefs. It's our job to serve them with professionalism." Ashley's defensiveness gave way to a growing sense of shame. I see that now. I'm sorry." Ethan nodded. "I appreciate your apology. But actions have consequences. Effective immediately. You're suspended. Use this time to reflect on your actions and the values of this establishment." Ashley left the office with a heavy heart, the weight of her mistake sinking in. Ethan, meanwhile, addressed the rest of the staff, emphasizing the importance of professionalism and respect. The weeks that followed were a turning point for Ashley. During her suspension, she took time to reflect, seeking guidance from friends and mentors. She read about the history of the Haven Taproom and Ethan's vision for creating a space that welcomed everyone. When she returned, it was with a renewed sense of purpose. She approached her work with humility, striving to rebuild trust with her coworkers and patrons. Ethan, true to his philosophy of second chances, watched her progress closely. One evening, as the bar thrived with laughter and music, Ethan approached Ashley at the bar. "You've done well," he said, offering a small smile. "Keep it up." Ashley nodded, gratitude shining in her eyes. "Thank you, Mr. Brooks. I won't let you down." The Haven taproom continued to flourish, its reputation stronger than ever. And for Ashley, the experience became a defining chapter in her journey, a lesson in humility, growth, and the power of second chances.